On the back of our notes, we're going to look at writing equations with given information, and these are horizontal and vertical lines. So we should hopefully know what these equations are, or at least what their slopes are. Let's look at this one right here. I see a vertical line at +3. Well, automatically I should know that slope is undefined. Whenever I have a vertical line that has an undefined slope, its equation is going to be x equals, because every single x value on this line is always 3 and it will never be anything else. So my equation for this line is x equals 3. Now let's look at the second one. We have a line going side to side here. That means it is a horizontal line. Whenever I have a horizontal line, it is y equals, because every single y value on this line is -3. My equation will be y equals -3. And lastly, we have a horizontal line here at 0. So that means I'm going to have y equals 0 because it's horizontal. So let's look at some ordered pairs. We're going to write the horizontal and vertical line through the point 3, 2. So I'm just going to label our horizontal and our vertical, and let's write equations for those lines. Well, the horizontal line through this point means the line going side to side. What did we, or how did we write horizontal line equations over here? They're always y equals. So my horizontal line through this point is going to be y equals whatever that y value is, which in this case is 2. Horizontal is always y equals. So now the vertical line through this point is going to be x equals whatever that x value is, which is 3. So let's look at two more of these. I know these only say write horizontal and write vertical, but we're actually going to write both the horizontal and the vertical of both of them, just to get that practice. So let's write the horizontal and vertical lines through the point -5, 3. My horizontal line is always the one that goes side to side, which is always y equals. So my horizontal line is y equals 3. Then my vertical line through this one is going to be x equals -5. Let's look at number 6. Our point is 4, -1. I want you to pause the video and write the horizontal and vertical line equations through that point. All right, let's check our answers. The horizontal line through this is going to be y equals -1. The vertical line is x equals 4. Horizontal will always be y equals. Vertical will always be x equals. Well, what if I have these two ordered pairs, -1, 7 and -1, 3? We want to write the equation through that line. So before we can do that, we need the slope of that line. So let's find the slope. The slope is going to be 3 minus 7 divided by -1 minus -1. Well, 3 minus 7 is going to give us -4, and -1 minus -1 is going to give us 0. What happens when there's a 0 on the bottom? Can I divide by 0? No, I can't. So my slope here is undefined. Well, what type of line gives us an undefined slope? The answer to that is a vertical line. And what type of equation does a vertical line have? It has the equation x equals. So it's going to be whatever x equals in our points. So x equals -1 here. Is there a way we could know that by just looking at the points? Yes, we have repeating x values, which means it is undefined slope, which means it's a vertical line, which means x equals -1. So there's our shortcut. One more of these. Number 8. I have the ordered pair for 6 and the point -3, 6. In order to write an equation, we need to find our slope here. So let's find the slope. We're going to have 6 minus 6 divided by -3 minus 4. Well, 6 minus 6 gives us 0. -3 minus 4 gives us -7. 0 divided by -7, be careful, that is a slope of 0. Well, what kind of a line has a slope of 0? That's going to be a horizontal line. And what type of equation does a horizontal line have? Y equals. Our y values in both of these points are 6, so it's y equals 6. Shortcut. If I look at my order pairs and there are repeating y values, then my equation is going to be y equals 6. So there's equations of some horizontal and vertical lines. Now it is word problem time. So writing equations in standard form requires you to look for combinations of items. Unlike slope-intercept, which required you to look for an equation in terms of a variable. So when we do standard form, we're not going to say y as a function of x anymore. We're going to look at combinations of items. So here are the steps. First, we'll define our variables x and y, unless they're defined for us. Then we'll identify the amounts, then we'll write the equation. So writing equations in standard form is actually not too bad. Excuse me. All right, let's look at the first one. As the student council treasurer, you prepare the budget for your class rafting trip. Each large raft costs $100 to rent, and each small raft costs $40 to rent. You have $800 to spend. Write an equation that models the possible combinations of small rafts and large rafts that you can rent. So I know large rafts are $100. I know small rafts are $40. My total is $800. So first thing we need to do is define our variables. Let's call one x and let's call one y. You could also call them L and S for small and large. So if I call one x, I'll just say that my large rafts are x. So I'm going to call my large rafts x. And I'm going to call my small rafts y. All right, so I have x and y. Well, what goes with each of those? On one side of my equation, we're going to have the money that we are spending on the rafts. On the other side, here's the money that we have to spend. Well, how much money do we have? We have $800 to spend. So all this will be equal to 800. Well, what are we spending? For every large raft, we're spending $100. So how do I write that? 100x. What else am I spending? Plus. I am also spending $40 for each small raft. So I'm going to add to that 40y. And there's my equation in standard form. So I have two different things, large and small rafts, with two different costs, and then there is the money that I have to spend. So there's my equation. Let's look at number 2. You go shopping to buy shirts and pants during tax-free weekend. Each shirt costs $15, and each pair of pants costs $25. You have $150 to spend. Write an equation that models the possible combinations of shirts and pants you can buy. If you buy 4 shirts, how many pairs of pants can you buy? Let's ignore the last sentence for now. First, we need our equation. Well, we need to define our variables. We're talking about shirts and pants here. So we could call them S and P. We could call them X and Y, whatever you want to. So I'm just going to call them S and P for shirts and pants. So S is going to be shirts. P is going to be pants. Well, let's write our equation. Shirts cost $15. So I'm going to spend $15 for however many shirts, 15S. I'm also spending $25 per pair of pants. So I'm going to add to that 25P. How much do I have to spend? $150. So there's my equation. Now let's look at our follow-up question. If you buy 4 shirts, how many pairs of pants can you buy? I need to plug that in for something. Clearly, I need to plug that in for S because I know that S is the number of shirts. So I'm going to take 4 and put it in the place of S and solve it for P. 15 times 4 plus 25P equals 150. I'm taking this 4 and I'm plugging it in for S. So now let's figure out what that gives us. 15 times 4 gives us 60 plus 25P equals 150. Now we're just solving it for P. So subtract 60 on both sides. That's going to give me 25p equals 90. Divide both sides by 25. Let's bring our work up here. So divide by 25, and that gives me p equals 3.6. Let's think logically. Can I buy 0.6 of a pair of pants? No. Do I have money to buy 4 pairs of pants? No. I only have money for 3.6. So my answer to this question is 3 pairs of pants. That's how many I can buy if I buy 4 shirts. Last question on our notes. Let's look at this one. You are in charge of buying prizes for a school contest. At Five Below, slime costs $2 and keychains cost $3. You have $10 to spend. Write an equation that represents the different numbers of slime, x, and keychains, y, that you can purchase. So we're told what our variables are. We know that slime is x and that it costs $2. We know keychains is y, and they cost $3. And we have $10 to spend. So let's write an equation for this. We have $2 per thing of slime. We're going to add to that $3 per keychain, 3y, and our total is 10. So there is our standard form equation. It says graph the equation from part A on the given coordinate plane, label your axes. So the way that it's going to be easiest to graph it is if we use the intercepts. It's in standard form. So that means I can find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Well, remember, when I find the x-intercept, I let y equal 0. So I'm just going to cover up y here. To find the x-intercept, I'm going to have 2x equals 10. I'm going to get the x by itself. So that gives me x equals 5. So that means that my x-intercept is 5, 0, because I plugged in a 0 for y. Now for the y-intercept, I'm going to let x equals 0. So I'm going to get rid of x. That's going to give me 3y equals 10. Let's get the y by itself by dividing by 3. So that gives me y equals 3.3 repeating. Or you can leave it as 10 over 3. So now my y-intercept is 0, 3.3 repeating. So I found my intercepts by, first of all, letting y equal 0, and then by letting x equal 0. Now let's go ahead and graph them. To graph them, we need to label our axes and scale our graph. It should be fine just to count by ones on both axes. And it's really important that we label them. What does x stand for in context? Well, we are told that x is slime. So it is slime. And then we are told that the y is the keychains. So make sure you label your axes here. All right, and then we need to go ahead and graph it. So when I graph it, I'm going to put my intercepts on. So I have the intercept 5, 0. That's over here. 5, 0. And then I've got the intercept 0, 3.3. So that is approximately here. All right, this video is out of time, so head over to the next one and we'll finish up.